Good day, grade 10. This is day 55 on the 23rd of June, and we are doing straight line functions or linear functions. Today we're going to sketch functions, and we are also going to see some summaries of what we've learned so far. Okay, the first example in your note says, given 2y plus 6x is equal to 8, determine the value of m and c. Okay, so I know that I have to get it into the standard form. Okay, so a tip here would be to get y alone or to get it in standard form. What is standard form again? Y is equal to mx plus c. Okay, so remember y is equal to mx plus c. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 6 over to the other side, becomes negative 6x plus 8. Then I still have the 2 in front of the y. I don't want any coefficient for y. I want to divide that 2 away. So it becomes, I'm going to divide by 2 everywhere. So it becomes y is equal to negative 3x plus 4. Now I have it in standard form. Now I know I can read off the values of m and of c. M is the value in front of x and c is the constant value at the end. So the m value will be in front of x, negative 3, and the c value will be the constant 4. Then they ask us to draw the line. To draw the line, I need to determine the x-intercept and the y-intercept. For the x-intercept, I set y equal to 0, and for the y-intercept, I set x equal to 0. So let's look at the x-intercept first. I'm going to let y be 0. Then I have 2 times 0 is 0, plus 6x is 6x is equal to 8, and x will then be equal to 4 over 3. So the coordinate of the x-intercept will be 4 over 3, 0. 4 over 3 is between 1 and 2. Okay. Then the y-intercept, I set x equal to 0, so 2y is equal to 8 and y will be equal to 4. Then I draw my Cartesian plane neatly, and I say between 1 and 2 I have a dot, and at 4 I have a dot that I plotted. Draw a line with arrows, write down the original equation, and then the coordinates of the intercepts. That's all I need to do. Okay. Then next, summary of the main features of a linear function. Okay, so when a linear function, the general equation or the standard form is y is equal to mx plus c, with m the gradient and c the y-intercept. If the gradient is positive, I have an increasing line. If the gradient is negative, I have a decreasing line. We've already learned all of this, so I'm just going through it quickly. Between any 2 points, the gradient is constant. What does that mean in English? That means when I have 2 points on a line, between them, the gradient won't change. The gradient will be the same everywhere along that line between those 2 points. Okay, for the y-intercept, I let x be equal to 0. For the x-intercept, I let y be equal to 0. Then the summary of sketching straight line graphs. How do I sketch a graph in the form y is equal to mx plus c? So say for instance I have y is equal to 2x plus 3. That's the form that they're talking about. First I find the y-intercept, that's the c value, 3. Or I can let x be 0. The x-intercept is obtained by letting y equal to 0. And then the gradient is the coefficient of x, or the value m. So the gradient in this case would be 2. Okay, the gradient is constant between any 2 points. If the gradient is positive, I will have an uphill line or increasing line. If the gradient is negative, I will have a downhill line or a decreasing line. Okay, then when the line is in the form y is equal to mx, like for instance y is equal to 4x, then I don't have the y-intercept, or I have the y-intercept, it is 0. So I can actually put a plus 0 there, but I don't write that. So that tells me, that plus 0 tells me that the y-intercept will be 0, and so will the x-intercept. So I cannot use the dual intercept method. I need to use the table method to draw that one. And the gradient is the m value. Okay, then if I have a line in the form px plus qy is equal to rx, okay, what does that mean? That means if I have a line like this, 2x plus 3y is equal to 6, for instance. Then I can use the x-intercept and y-intercept to draw the line, and I can find the gradient by rewriting it in the standard form y is equal to mx plus c. So I just get y alone. Then when I have lines of the form x is equal to a number and y is equal to a number, like for instance x is equal to 3 or y is equal to -2. When I have x is equal to a number, I have a vertical line with a gradient undefined. When I have y equal to a number, I have a horizontal line with a gradient 0. Okay, so that's just a summary of everything that we've learned so far. So now they say do the following. So you do those questions of day 55. They ask us to determine the gradient and state whether the line is increasing or decreasing. And then we have to write down the coordinates of the x and y intercept and draw the graph for those 3 equations. So you can press pause now, do those questions, and then when you are ready, you come back and you press play and we mark the work together. Okay, welcome back. Day 55's homework. Y is equal to 2x plus 5 is the first one. Okay, so that's number A. First question tells us to determine the gradient of the line. Determine the gradient and then state whether the line is increasing or decreasing. Okay, so I know that it is in standard form already. Standard form is y is equal to mx plus c. M tells me the gradient. So is it already in standard form? Yes, I'm lucky. So then I just read off the gradient. The gradient will be 2. Is it increasing or decreasing? It's definitely increasing because I have a positive line, positive gradient. Number 2, write down the coordinates of the x-intercept and y-intercept. Okay, so first I'm going to determine the x-intercept and then the y-intercept. For the x-intercept, I let y be equal to 0. So let me start by letting y be equal to 0. 0 is equal to 2x plus 5. I take the 5 over, it becomes -5. Then I divide by 2. -5 over 2 is equal to x. So I have -5 over 2, 0. That's my x-intercept. -5 over 2 is the same as -2.5, 0. I can always leave it in improper fraction form. I don't need to write it as a mixed number, but sometimes it helps me to write it as a mixed number just to know where to plot the point. Okay, then the y-intercept is where I set x equal to 0, so it's going to be, or I could just read it off because the constant value is the y-intercept. So y is equal to 5. So then I have 0, 5 for the y-intercept. Now I draw my Cartesian plane neatly, always on the same way. And then, okay, so I see -2.5 for the x-intercept is between -2 and -3, so I plot a point there. Then on the y-axis, I have to plot a point at 5, draw a line with arrows, write down the equation, y is equal to 2x plus 5, write down the coordinates of the intercepts. And that's it. That's how it's done. And that is number 3. To sketch it. Okay. Number B. B's equation is y is equal to negative 4x minus 8. First, I have to get the m value, the gradient. Okay, so this is already in standard form. Y is equal to mx plus c. And what is the m value? It's negative 4. Is it increasing or decreasing? It's a negative value, so it's decreasing. Number 2, x-intercept, y-intercept. Okay, so for the x-intercept, I let y be equal to 0. In the place of y, I put a 0. Then I take the 8 over, it becomes positive 8. And to get x alone, I divide by negative 4. So my answer will be negative 2. The coordinate is negative 2, 0. That's for the x-intercept. Now for the y-intercept, I'm going to let y be equal to 0. X be equal to 0. Or just read it off from the c value. The c value will be y is equal to negative 8. So the coordinate will be 0, negative 8. Then I draw a Cartesian plane. And negative 8 is quite down there, so I'm not going to draw all the little lines. I'm just going to say more or less negative 2 on the x-axis will be there. Negative 8 on the y-axis will be there. Then I draw a line through them with arrows at the ends. Write down the equation. Y is equal to negative 4x minus 8. And then the coordinates of the intercepts. That's it. Then number C. C is 2x minus 2y is equal to 4. This is not in standard form. I need to get y alone. So I'm going to take the 2x over. It becomes negative 2x plus 4. Now to get y alone, I'm going to divide by negative 2 everywhere. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 would give me 1x, and negative 4 divided by negative 2 give me negative 2. So that's my standard form. Standard form is y is equal to x plus minus 2. What's in front of x? 1 is in front of x. So my m value would be 1. My gradient is 1. Is it decreasing or increasing? It's definitely increasing, because it's a positive value. Then the x-intercept and y-intercept. For the x-intercept, I let y be equal to 0. So it's 0 is equal to x minus 2. Then I take the 2 over, and x is equal to 2. So the coordinate of the x-intercept is 2, 0. Then for the y-intercept, I let x be equal to 0, or I can just take the standard form and read off the c value. The c value is negative 2. So y is equal to negative 2, and the coordinate of the y-intercept is 0, negative 2. Then I draw my Cartesian plane perfectly and neatly, and I go plot the points on the intercepts of the axis. The x-intercept at 2, the y-intercept at negative 2. Draw a line through them with arrows. Write down the original equation, 2x minus 2y is equal to 4. Write down the coordinates of the intercepts. And that's a perfect graph. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email your teacher. That's it for today.